Hey, everybody, this is William Rochelle, and you can call me Bill. This is UBU Live. I'm here with Christine Bailey and Michael Rivers. Michael, why do you look confused all of a sudden?
Because God showed up.
Because because what?
God showed up.
God showed up. Is Christine
God,
God?
what?
Stop. Stop.
What? Not God, but God. Like, when you're late for a plane, you're late for a train, and then wow, God, you showed up.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
I was freaking out. I was talking to somebody saying, I don't know if Michael's gonna come. Uh, you know, you actually
What?
set up Christine, so I'm like, all right, so well, what we gonna do here?
William, I, I'm, I, s- I sent Christine a message like last minute, 11th hour, and Christine is family. Like, I have flesh and blood, but family.
Yes.
Family.
Yes. Yes.
This
For
person.
life. For
And
life.
she was not hearing and reading and accepting nothing less than what she heard God say through this vessel on live.
Okay,
That's why I'm thanking God right now.
so where are
But
you? Because you're supposed to be at the Roots picnic.
you know what? I am in transition. I have to be, they're going to be there until 11 p.m. tonight.
Okay, all
We
right.
got more than enough time. And I have a treat for you this week coming. I have a celebrity bodyguard who works for Boys to Men. He is agreeing to collaborate with me with a Texas promoter that, let's just say, if anyone wants visibility, if anyone wants that platform that gets you on secular radio,
Yep.
all of the streaming stations, I don't know anyone else that has a better plug than this man. I'm just waiting for that connection to come through, and then we'll
Okay.
be announcing a PSA. I would love to do it through your platform. We would bring a who's who list to you.
I do this for just exposure for everyone around me. I will act at any time, allow you to come on and speak your truth, do whatever you need to do,
Don't make me cry.
um, and
Arabic.
we'll work that out. But I'm not doing it for accolades. I
All
mean,
right.
if it happens, it happens, and as you just said, God shows up. So everything happens for a reason. We're all in each other's lives for a reason.
Amen.
Yes.
So I'm
Yeah.
not doing this for anything else except for the kind of I, I believe when we meet people that we don't know and we start sharing our stories and just start talking, we're
Yes.
actually ministering to other people out there.
You know it.
And everybody's story is great. And there's someone out there saying, I wish I could do this. It's very interesting because I I say this before every single show. I get so nervous because it's almost like throwing a party and you're like, is anybody gonna show up?
Right.
You done sent out the invitations, you done paid the caterer, and you sitting up there by yourself. But every single time I throw a party, people show up and show out. So I'm like, all right, but there's that little bit of anxiety before it happens. So let's talk about Michael, and then we're gonna go to Christine. All right. Michael, so you're at the picnic right now?
No, I am in transition to the picnic. I'm in a space in Pennsylvania called Bucks County.
Okay.
So the Roots picnic is going on in West Philly. And
Are
driving
you in a,
in,
are you in a train station?
no, I'm sorry. There's a eating station. Is it
Okay.
noisy background? I'm sorry.
No. I was just trying to figure out the aesthetics.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yes.
so like,
So
is it a train station or is it, a airport or a mall?
it is a mall. It's one of the biggest malls in Bucks County. And I
Okay.
do have a person on standby to fill in some time so I can release myself, allow this red carpet to be introduced to this amazing queen, and then I'll pick back up. But Omanzua. Omanzua is my virtual assistant, and I promise you, he's a gift that I believe I was prophesied that I would meet all the way back in 1991. The
Okay.
way this man just came into my life and is doing 5, 10, 15 things at one time. As fast as I think, he's already doing it.
So
And the
so
synergy,
when you say virtual assistant, because I'm living in 2025 now, you mean an assistant like a real person? Because I'm thinking an AI assistant,
no, not,
like like you're not having Siri call up in here, right?
no, not at all. This is a real brother, and if he was in person, he would be standing right by me. But by virtual, all of our conversations and every interactions is online.
Got it,
And
got it.
when it, you know, he's, I, it's something that I need to champion about people like him because when golden agers age out of their adulthood and then memory loss start kicking in and all of the other good stuff that can't thrive, if their family is not there and if they never brought in other children, they're going to need people like that. And when it comes to physical, I think here in the States, especially the Commonwealth, they call them home care or healthcare workers. I look at them as personal assistants. And
Got it.
my mother getting older, I'm like her chief of staff, firstborn. I'm her security, come in and out, open the door for her. She don't have to worry about nothing. Somebody got a beef with her, I'm
You're
conflict
there.
resolution. I'm everything. So
You
these two components is what really I am. So when it comes to the title, founder, I'm human at heart, but I understand first works and loyalty and what that goes through.
yeah,
And
yeah.
she's at the age where, hey, she should not be working. She shouldn't be working. Children, you see how old I am. Our children are supposed to be doing a reverse of what they did for us. And this is something that I'm putting forth in the world by me taking a first lead and doing it first. And thankfully, my personal assistant does the same thing by reinforcing that message. So, in place of Christine doing her thing and just shocking the world with her gorgeous God's glow, because like her before and after is like mic drop everything, and she represents everything that I've read about, everything that I've heard about, but also what the Almighty allowed me to be prepared for. So when I meet people like her, I understand how to act, how to speak, and how to showcase and how to introduce because she has a story that makes life applicable.
Got it.
And but even with your platform, to me, you're a modern day version of John the Baptist.
Me?
Period. Heck
You,
yes.
I think you're giving
Heck
me a
yes,
lot more credit than I deserve.
sir.
I
Like,
am a I am a flawed human being,
I,
and
Amen.
I am working through my
Me
own
too.
stuff. So
Me too.
well,
and as I work through it, as
yeah,
I work through it, and and this is something that as and I'm going to just say for a second, Christine,
uh,
men, that we need to do is say, you know what, I'm struggling with this because we have been raised to man up, which I understand the sentiment, but it
right.
also means that we're not supposed to show that we have feelings or flaws or that we're struggling with mental health or that we're struggling with depression or anxiety. Like I just told you, I get nervous before every show.
Right,
So
right,
um so hopefully as I share, who I am as a human,
right.
it helps someone else. And people like Peter Muffler and Kenneth Dunner, they support me so much, and I really, really appreciate them
Mm,
always showing up for me
okay.
in every aspect of things that I do. So,
Oh.
John the Baptist, my mother will say that's blasphemy.
Really?
Uh,
Wow.
yes,
Right.
my mom is she has her own church, so
Oh, really?
she would probably say, maybe you're reading the wrong Bible if you think that I'm like John the
Well,
Baptist.
when I say if I use the Bible as the format, and because my life had been patterned around that, Other people went to school, got their education. Other people learned, you know, they were dedicated in what they did, but I was dedicated to that book.
There you
So
go.
I learned to use the individuals as they were my barometers because that's all I had. So when I see a person like Christine, I would see, oh, Mary Magdalene, but then the new version, to the Mother Mary. Like it's always metaphors and it's examples because when we meet people that emulate the lifestyle that these people, live in the book, now you can understand what your purpose is. Because as you said, you take no pride, you take no credit, you take no glory. There's nobody else in the book that was like that other than John. He was
Okay.
always out in the wilderness with just a towel around. And then introduced everybody to this man that he said, hey, I gotta hear this. That's what you do. And when you showcase people, trust me, everybody that came on your platform, especially the last one, like the coach, I forgot his
Wayne,
name.
Wayne was
Wayne
amazing.
is a drop by himself. That brother is fire. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
man, I gotta start being in your clique, in your circle, because you got all the good stuff.
It's funny because my brother Phil and I, Bill and Phil, I don't know how that happened, but we're polar opposites, right?
Wow.
And he he watches my show every single time,
Wow.
and he said that Wayne was one of his favorites. And
Ooh,
so for me to impress my brother is
wow.
like, okay, I did something right,
Yeah,
So
see that. Now, isn't that in character what John the Baptist did for Jesus, his cousin?
you know, I'll ask my mom after the show.
She sounds like an amazing person to talk to, and probably a great person for
She
who
won't.
to interview.
It's she won't do it. She
Really?
is. Yeah, I've asked her a few times, and I think that even if she did do it, I would probably have one of my cousins host the show
Oh,
because it my I have a family show on Saturdays, and my
okay.
cousin we made an agreement that if either of our parents come on, then we would step away and allow
Gotcha.
them to have the conversation because everyone sees life through their own lens.
Okay.
And if my mom wants to tell her story and I'm on, or if I want to tell my story and she's on, you're going to
Right.
feel a little bit of a pressure not to really be as authentic as you want to be. So
Mm,
So my mom might want to, say how she really felt, raising two kids as a single mother who, in a time where that was not normal. So, we've made that commitment that'll be separate.
I'm so excited.
Hello,
Can you hear me?
I
oh,
can, I can. And how are you? You're good? Okay. Um, let's go to Christine real quick.
oh,
And are you about to jump off, Mike?
yes. I'm going to jump off, but this is how the Lord works because Ola only had some other prior engagements at the last minute, but Christine said last week, I think in a chat that or somewhere that she said she wanted to have a chance to meet Dr. Vivian. So this is nothing but God right here, and I thank God for how we're able to make this happen. But I will step down for a moment. I'll be back,
Okay.
and I'll be in transition. So by all means,
We will be here.
all right. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Michael.
All right. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Dr. Vivian, hello. How are
Hi,
you?
hi, I'm very good. Can you hear me crystal clear?
Yes, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Where
Awesome.
are
Thank you so much.
where are you calling from?
Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria to be specific.
Okay, all right. So hey, all around the world. Um, so give me a second because I want to address Christine Bailey because I she was the first person on, and I want to make sure that we go in order. So Christine,
Yes.
when Michael came on, last time, he held up your book. And I won't forget that. And then the second thing is you told one of our guests to reach out to you because she was going through some personal issues. So I wanted to thank you for that. It's amazing when a community rallies around someone that they don't know. And the platform that I have is all about, community and reaching out and, you being you. And if you're struggling with something, then we're not judging you. We're here to help. So I wanted to thank you for that. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your book?
Sure. First, I just want to say, give an honor to God, who is the head of my life. Um,
Go ahead.
my book is about health issues that I had um, because the enemy had attacked my body. And at the very end of it, they said, if you don't have this surgery, then you're going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. And I said, no, I will not. No, I
Okay.
won't. So I left that doctor's office and I told my sister-in-law, I said, I don't know how, but I know that God is going to do it. I don't know when, but I know that God is going to do it. So I had an encounter with God December 31st of 2022. And God could have went past me, but he didn't. He stopped because I was to be one of his and I was to be in his kingdom. So I had to work on me first of all. I had to work on all of my sins that are listed in the Bible, jealousy, pride, envy, hate, unforgiveness, all of that used to be me. I didn't even love myself. So at that time I couldn't even love my husband. And that put my marriage in jeopardy. But I went back to church and I went down for prayer, and the apostle had asked me, he said, what do you need me to pray for you about? And I said, about my husband and my daughter. He started calling things out in my body. And this is the first time that I had met this apostle. From my diabetes to my kidneys disease to my arthritis, sciatica, everything. And at that moment, then I knew that it was God. And he touched me and I went down. Not a hard touch, just a tap. And I went down. And I laid there and I couldn't get back up. They tried to get me up and I couldn't get back up. And he said, nope, leave her there because God is not finished working on her. So I laid there a little while longer. And then he came back to me and he said, this time you're going to get up and you're not even going to need any help getting up. Now, when I went down with a cane. I was walking with a cane at that time because I could barely walk. When I got back up, I walked away, no cane. And at the end of service, my sister-in-law said, sis, where is your cane? And I said, oh my God, I left it at the altar. That day, because of my faith, God healed me. God delivered me and he restored me. He rebirthed me. See, God wants us when we're broken. That's where he meets us at. That's the challenge. And December 31st, 2022, I was broken. I was in a bad place in my life where I had also contemplated suicide. But God, but God. So I do what I do now on my podcast because I know there are people out there that are in the shape that I once was in. And I want to let them know that they're not alone. I'm here. I am here. They can reach me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, on any of the social media sites. Pull me up. You can reach me and I will be there. Because, see, we're supposed to be a blessing to others.
Yep.
We're supposed to multiply our fruits. We don't supposed to be selfish and keep it to ourselves. That's where the blessings come from. It's when we give it in return back to others. That
Yep.
is a part of my ministry, and it's a part of whose I am and who I am. So that is me in a nutshell. My first book is Mustard Seed Faith to Unshakable Faith.
Mm.
My second book is No God, No Peace. No God, No Peace.
Yep.
And the book that I just finished is Guard Your Heart. That's me, William. That's who Christine Bailey is.
Christine Bailey, that's a lot. And there are so many questions that I have to ask you. I'm going to start with the one that probably is the hardest. We've seen this happen before, and as a person that's witnessed it, I've always wondered, is that real? When someone touches somebody and they go down, was that a plant? Was it someone, within the ministry that they set up and said, okay, we're going to touch you, you're going to go down, and then you're going to come back up walking? And you just said that that actually happened to you. I don't know what to say. How do you describe the feeling? How like it's so hard because I've seen it and then I've doubted it. Are you following me, Dr. Vivian? And I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I've seen it and I'm like, is that real? And you're saying it was.
It
It
was,
is.
and
It
it
is.
is. That's not the first time. That was my first time, and I have experienced it since then as well. And let me tell you this: when I walked in that church, now this is the church that I go to. I felt different. It was something that I was more at peace. I was more relaxed. And I told my sister-in-law, I said, I don't know what God has in store for me today, but I receive it. Whatever it is, I receive it. And I can tell you that when I went up front and as he was praying over me, there was a warm sensation that went through my body. And I knew that was God. I had never, ever felt that before. Never. And it felt so good that I didn't want to be released from it.
Mm.
So, I had seen it before as well, before it happened to me.
Did
And
you
I
doubt it
always
before?
wondered because I had been in a church before where a minister was trying to force me to fall,
Yeah.
and I couldn't, it just wasn't fair. And I never understood that. But that Sunday when I went to church and that apostle Like I said, he didn't know me. I didn't know him. That was my first time meeting him. And how I knew that it was God was him calling everything out of my body, and everything that he named, I
The,
had.
the apostle, the person that touched
Yes,
you, and he
yes,
knew exactly what was wrong with you
everything from
without you
my,
opening your mouth.
without me even saying anything. Because when he asked me, what do you want me to pray about? I said, my husband and my daughter. And I heard, see, the Holy Spirit will speak to you. If you listen, he speaks to you. And I heard the Holy Spirit say, let me work on you first. And I was in awe because it was like, well, that's not what I asked the apostle to pray about. But to hear that voice in my ear, I knew it was nobody but God. So when I'm a living witness, I am a testimony to say that God is very much real and he is very much alive.
Hmm. I just texted my brother to tell him to have mom tune in now because I wanted to hear it. She doesn't. It's interesting, and I don't know if anyone else is like this, but sometimes your family are the ones that don't watch your show
Mhm.
because
Oh,
they
yeah.
know they know your story, right? So they're like, we don't need to watch that.
Yeah.
So my brother will watch it, but my mom generally doesn't tune in.
Mhm.
But I'm like, just have her tune in right now. This. So what did your doctors say, and how's your health now at this moment?
So I have a doctor who is a believer, number one. And so her goal was the same goal that I had in mind, to get off of insulin.
Okay.
And let me share with you this. I have been on insulin. I had been on insulin for over 30 years. When I first became a diabetic, the doctor told me that I would be insulin dependent for the rest of my life. And I said, no, I won't. See, I've always been a believer. In the back of my mind, I've always been a believer. But it didn't come to reality until until December of 2022. So I had went to the doctor and she had put me on this different medication. And so it was working. It was helping me get the weight off. I started off at 245 pounds. And at that time, when I was under her care, I was on a lot of insulin. And she said, this is not normal. There is no way that you should be on this much insulin. She said, we're going to get you off of this insulin. I said, let's do it. So by listening to my doctor, by listening to God, because like I said, God talks, and I've learned to listen. I've learned to listen. So I went back to the doctor. It's been a month now. I am now at 145 pounds, and I am now insulin free.
Hold on. Now, wait. So I missed something because remember I just texted my brother to say have mom join the show. Um, so
Oh my
you
God.
said you were at 245,
I was at 245 pounds when I started my weight loss journey. Yes, sir.
and how
Yes,
long
sir.
has it been since you've been on your weight loss journey?
I had been on my weight loss journey for over a year.
Okay, all right. So you lost 100
Over a year.
pounds in a year.
Mhm, mhm.
Are you taking Ozempic or Wegovy or any of
On
those?
I was on Manjaro. I was on Manjaro
Mm-hmm.
because that one worked best for me. I had real bad side effects from Ozempic that landed me in the hospital and almost took my life. So we switched up to the Manjaro. And like I said, then I started eating healthier. I started exercising every day for 30 minutes. and I would set my alarm on my phone to track it. And I would just do it for 30 minutes constantly, no stopping in between. Because, you know, everybody knows weight loss is a challenge. It's a challenge. And I tell you what, to be at this size now, William and Dr. Vivian, I never thought I'd see myself at this weight ever again. I didn't, because I thought, my God. And then I started seeing the weight coming off, and that's what made me more excited. Just seeing it coming off. I don't care if it was 5 pounds a week; it was still coming off. And so I knew that I was headed in the right direction. So when I tell you that, I just want to say that prayer works. I'm a prayer warrior.
There you
I
go.
love to pray. In the morning, when I get up, first thing I get up, last time at night, bedtime, scripture, that's me. But I tell you what, faith is the key. Faith is the key, because see, you have to believe in the one who's able to do the impossible. God is the one that makes it all possible. And I'm a true believer, you know, and I don't force God on anyone, because that's not who I am. But I tell God about everyone, because that's who I am. And I know what he's done for me. So what he's done for me, I know anybody out there that's struggling, no matter what it is, take it to God. He's the answer. He is the answer.
That is deep. So, are you still on Manjaro?
Nope.
So you're
I'm
not on.
insulin free.
So you're not on Manjaro. So I am. I'm on Manjaro for diabetes, and it's
Okay.
controlling my A1C. And I did Ozempic first, and now I'm on the 15. Uh, uh,
Mounjaro.
yeah,
Mhm,
the highest dose,
mhm.
and I'm afraid to go off of it because I'm looking good.
I know, right? I look at myself in the mirror every day, William, and I'll be like, "Dang, girl, you look good."
I walk my dogs, Christine. I walk my dogs every day, and my neighbors must think I'm crazy because every day I find a different tighter shirt. Like I walk my dogs 3 times. I'm like, can I fit into this shirt? I haven't fit into this shirt since I was 17 years old. I can, and and it's not just that you're fitting in it, Dr. Vivian. It's that there's nothing poking out. Because we can all squeeze into something and look like a hot dog. But there's nothing. There's no rolls. Um,
Right.
and it's
Oh.
it's a miracle drug, and my A1C is under control. My sugar levels are under
Yes.
control.
Yes.
I haven't been told I can go off of it yet, so I don't think I'm at the space that you are, but it is it's wonderful. And I also had some health issues that my doctor was telling me about, related to the kidneys and the liver, because diabetes is a hell of
Let me sh-
a
let me
disease.
share one more thing with you, William. I am I also suffer from kidney disease as well. Um, and like you said, diabetes, it's it's a heck of a one, because it attacks so many parts of the body. And
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that. Let me back up a little bit. I had a heart attack in 2020. Uh, Walking around, didn't even know I'd had a heart attack.
Okay. All right. So explain
But
that. Wait. Before you
let
go,
me explain that one.
yeah, because you had a heart attack, but you didn't know you had it.
Didn't know it.
All right. So
So this happened on a Thursday. Me and my husband had went to the VA hospital for his doctor's appointment. So I'm walking along, and I just started walking real slow, and sweat just started pouring off of me. And he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I blamed it on my weight. And I said, it's just this weight. I need to get this weight off of me." And he said, "Are you sure you're okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm okay. Let's go." So we went on in, and they had called him back for his appointment. And I was sitting there, and a sharp pain hit my chest that I had never felt before. But it went away instantly.
Right.
So I thought I was okay. So we went back home. That Friday, I got up, I went to work, I clowned with my employees and my coworkers like I always do. I got home that Friday evening, and it hit me all of a sudden. I started sweating, and it was like I couldn't breathe. Well, my husband had left because my husband is 16 years sober. So he had went to his AA meeting, and I was at home by myself. And I started to panic because I could not breathe. So I texted him and I said, "Please come home ASAP." So about time he got home, I was almost passed out by the time he got home. So he swooped me up. He got me in the car. And as we were driving to the hospital, I felt this tugging. I just want to say spiritual warfare is real. The enemy is real. I felt this tugging between the forces of the darkness and God. And I could actually feel it as we were going to the hospital. And I heard God saying, "Don't worry, I got you. I got you." And I was slowly closing my eyes because I could see the darkness. But for a while, I couldn't see the light. So about time we got to the hospital, they had to pick me up because I couldn't even walk in the hospital. They put me in a wheelchair. They took me right on back to a room. They didn't even do triage. They took me back to the room. And the first thing the doctor asked me, "Have you ever had a heart attack?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Well, we're going to do an EKG and all the workups on you because you're diabetic. I just want to make sure." So he came back and he said, "You're going to spend the night at the hospital." He said, "Because I don't want you to go home because I have a feeling if you do, you won't make it." And I said, "You know what? I never argue with the doctors. I trust God first of all. So do what you got to do. I'm yours." Got me up to the room. The next day, a cardiologist came in and he had told me that most definitely I had had a heart attack that Thursday. That Thursday. So tell me that was not God because I was still there that Friday. So they had to transport me to a different hospital. And they had to end up putting a stent on the right side of my heart. I had 99% blockage. But God, I'm still here. So when I tell you God is real, my God, my God, my God, God is real. Because in that moment, as they were putting the stent in, I was woke during the whole process as they put the stent in. I'm looking at them putting this stent in my heart.
What do you mean you were awake? Is that normal?
Yes, they don't put you to sleep, not unless you ask, but I didn't know any better, so I'm just laying there. The thing is above you, and you see the camera where you can see them putting it. They tried to do it up my arm, but my veins are too small and they roll. So they said we're going to have to go up the groin area. So that's how they put the stent in. Well, when they done that, my blood pressure skyrocketed to 200 over 110. And they started shooting medicine off in me to get my blood pressure down. because he was afraid that I was going to have another heart attack while he was trying to put the stent in, or either a stroke. So they had to put me in ICU for about an hour after they got the stent in. So I'm here. 99% blockage.
The only thing
I'm
I
a
gotta
living.
say is put me out. I don't want to be awake through that.
But you can't feel it. You
It
can't
don't
feel
matter.
anything.
I don't want to see people stressing. I don't, because I would have freaked out. That I don't want to know any of that. I would have freaked. Tell me later. Tell me afterwards. Um, Dr. Vivian, first of all, what type of doctor are you? Because there's different doctors: a doctor of psychology, a doctor of journalism, a medical doctor. What type of doctor are you?
I'm actually a medical doctor, though. I read that in school, but after school, I practiced for like 7 years and then I took a break. That's why I came on LinkedIn because I had other low hanging fruits that I could pay attention to. So I had to take a little pause. And then I'm raising my kids. So we're pretty much at home, remote working majorly and businesses.
So, listening to this story, I mean, with your background, like, how are you? I'm processing. So I'm like, I'm processing, and I don't like to put myself out there, but I will put myself out there. I'm supposed to go in for two things: a liver scan and a heart thing, and I've just been putting it off because I just don't feel like going. Now I feel like I need to go because of the diabetes, because of I have high blood pressure. I have all these ailments, and I feel okay, but just like you just said, you felt, I mean, there was a moment where you said you sweated and you just thought it was your weight, and I've had that happen before as well, where I've never had a pain, but anxiety, you can have that type of like sweat pour out of you. Um, so now I feel like I gotta go. Thanks a lot, Christine.
You're welcome.
I think you should because it's like early diagnosis is always better than
Yes.
whatever happened to her. I think we're lucky to be hearing this from her. But then she could have just been like you now, who would probably just walk, just go to the hospital, say today, later today or tomorrow. It'll be a lot more easier. But I
Yeah,
think the miracles are enormous. My ears, I could, I was literally, my eyes were literally popping out. This
like
is a
I'm just trying to process it all, and just understand it, and our journeys our 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 medical histories aren't that far off because of the diabetes, because of the Manjaro that we both take, because of you know um, the kidneys, because of the diabetes and the high blood pressure. So I'm doing all of that stuff, and my blood pressure is always high, even on blood pressure medication. It's always high. So my doctor really wants me to take this heart. I don't know what it's called, but basically, I guess it's a scan or something that they can do to find out whether or not your circulation is going right. I have the entire because they have to give you like a prescription, or it's like a prescription, but an order to go get it done. I've had it for 60 days.
wow.
I've even called yet. Just like, okay, I feel fine. But I think a lot of, and we're gonna say this again. I said it earlier. I believe that a lot of men are adverse to going to get medical care. I think women are, and this is a generalization, guys, so please don't yell at me, but I think women are more in tune and are, no, let me go get this checked out. Where a guy is like, yeah, I had this heart pain and I can't see anything right now and I'm sweating, but let me go to sleep and maybe I'll feel better tomorrow. And then we just don't ever wake up.
Hmm,
For real. Yeah. Mm.
that's huge.
So
Yeah.
so you have you've done something today. I'm going to make my call. Um, you know, I'll make it today. And if I have to make, and if I have to leave a message because it's Sunday, then
Right.
I'll just leave a message so that they'll get back to me. But I'm going to go ahead and not put off what I've been told to do several times.
Awesome.
So anyway, that's my response. I am living in um, a surreal state right now, Christine, because of the story that you've given and your testimony, and you know the fact that you went down and you walked in with the cane and you walked out on your own, and that you had a heart attack, but you know a day later or 2 days later or however long it was, you know you're still here and you are here to tell your story, and your story resonates with me. And that doesn't always happen. You know, sometimes you hear a story, Dr. Vivian, and you're just like, okay, good for her. You know, that's fantastic. But everything that you've described are things that I've gone through. Not knowing that I've had a heart attack. I mean, I don't know. But the sweats and you know the Manjaro and you know the kidney and them telling me you have to get these things looked at, and I've just been putting it off. So maybe this was supposed to be. Maybe this is, you know, my wake up call to get something looked at, as Dr. Vivian said, before it's too late. You know. So how are things in Nigeria? Like I don't know how to transition. so
No, I think actually this place, I don't know, this aspect of this conversation tonight is a good.
you just went out. You just went out. Like, can you hear her? You
Mm-mm.
muted yourself.
Okay, can you
There
hear
you
me
go.
now? I
Yeah, I
think I was
can.
initially muted. Okay. I normally mute so that you don't hear a little background. My house is filled with kids.
It's okay.
Okay. So essentially, I think this is a perfect place to settle tonight. Even if we stay at this point, I think it's very important that a lot of people pay attention to their health, especially because ever since I transitioned into remote working, I could literally see some of the things that I used to warn my patients against literally becoming some of my practices. I mean, sometimes you walk into the night, you record your podcast into the night.
Oh, we lost her.
We lost her.
She'll come back.
Yeah.
I believe. So you're you're magnificent. So how do people buy your book? And let me put it up, make a banner so that people can know where to buy it. Um, so where can we buy your book? Do you have a website?
Uh, they can get my book off of Amazon.
Okay.
Uh, that's the best place is off of Amazon. Both books are on Amazon. Mustard Seed Faith to Unshakable Faith.
Hold on. I can only type so fast. Mustard seed, faith, mustard, hold on, seed, faith to unshakable faith.
Yep.
And no God, N-O.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No God, no peace. And then KNOW, no God, no peace.
Okay, thank you
She's
so much.
back.
You,
Can you,
you
can
just
you
felt
hear me?
like you're like, okay, I can't compete with Christine, so I'm just gonna just jump off.
No, no. I didn't know. Like I said, I have lots of kids. So sometimes when I set up my my workstation, they pluck off a whole lot of things. So it was an assumption that I was probably seated well until he went off. No, but sincerely tonight, let me just bask in her glory because I need it. Okay. So would you want me to continue the conversation I was having?
Go ahead.
Okay, so I said essentially until I started my whole remote work journey, I didn't even know that some of the things that I would be warning my patients against doing would be something that I would somehow practice. I mean, sometimes you film your post podcast into the night, you record videos, you sleep very late, you find yourself picking up some soda here and there, like taking up those fast meals here and there every single time. In fact, I had started experiencing a few because of sitting super long. When you sit super long, the whole stasis. Okay, I don't want to use big words. The whole I don't want to say stasis, but you understand stasis. I think it's an English word, right? The
So
whole
so 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 you basically looked at me and said you don't want to use big words because Bill they don't look that smart. Is that what I'm hearing,
no,
Doctor?
never. No. The whole idea for me, I've always been big on simple, like make
Simplifying
it
it, yeah.
simple so that people can just remember. Okay, so the whole the
So I
whole
shouldn't I shouldn't take it personally. It's not
no,
about
no,
what you
at
think
all,
about my
please.
my my smarts.
I know you're super smart, like overtly, but just sitting for long, okay, maybe I should just use that plain word, could actually cause a lot of backlog of blood in your legs. So
Mm,
sometimes they seep out to cause those swellings that you see occasionally. It means you stayed too long. You're actually not supposed to do that. So I would always warn my patients then. But then all of a sudden, I'm all about the assignments. I have to meet up to this podcast. I have to read. I have to prepare. I have to work. I need to give those feedbacks. Then goes my kids. Immediately they sleep off. I would want to do all my work because I don't want them to wake up and meet me not done with whatever it is that I would probably be doing normally. So this is the circle that started happening. I started staying awake more in the night. So in cases like that, especially well for my age range, I knew that I could manage. I can still manage that for maybe a few more years. But when Christine was speaking, I literally had tears in my eyes because I started
I
asking
saw
myself
that.
some questions like, okay, how long will I keep walking like this? And it would be so bad because I know that if I don't put some necessary check, I will literally be saying the same things. And then guess what? It's simply because I started saying, okay, maybe I'll take on more remote roles so that I can be around with my kids. But the question would be, how can I now improve my health? I mean, the exercise, the eating well. Once it's late, it's late. Don't say I'm awake to work, so I should eat. Once it's late, it's late. So the whole discipline. Now, just hearing you today, I mean, I know that I really have to rethink some of my practices anyway. I just have to. But then it's so beautiful to see people get healed. I'm also of course, we're Africans. Of course, you know that we are we're believers naturally. Africans are
Right.
generally believers. I think people in the global north, essentially, you guys have a lot of things going on for you guys that a lot of people can just grow up without probably imputing faith here and there. But I think from zero, like you're literally in the womb, you'll be hearing your mother shouting and screaming for a change. So we all
Right.
just get baptized into faith. And of course, there are seasons in your life where you have to question a whole lot of things, but it still would not take the place the of God as a miracle. For us, even living right here in the global south is a miracle in itself because there are lots of things that are not yet systemized, but then we still move about, we do all that we can do, and then we know every single day that it's God's faith, God's covering, God's anointing that preserves us away from all sorts. I mean, if I would want to start talking about them, I don't think. But then everybody, you have to believe. You just have to. So if it comes to seeing signs and wonders, literally growing up, yes, I've seen quite a lot. A lot of people get healed. A lot of people, I mean, from the completely paralyzed. But then, of course, sometimes there could be seasons of you questioning because there might be somebody you pray so hard for. Even in my practice, then that was part of the things I did because I don't know. I just had this super compassionate heart that when somebody's ill, I feel so like I feel so sad, and that's essentially what I was feeling when she was talking. It's literally okay. This is what I am supposed to help people do, like go through these seasons with them and literally see them get better on the other side.
Right.
So I've seen a whole lot of people do well like that. But then I'll still say it again, a lot of people did not believe and they had to go to be with the Lord. I'm sure maybe when they get to heaven, they would have figured out that, like we are being taught here, that God has bodies, God has organs, spare organs. spare kidneys and all sorts, that every single time that all you have to do is to consistently make demand. And guess what? It's not over until you win, until you get better. And I think what I love about what she said is that she's not scared of her doctors, right? I've committed myself to God. I'm going to show up. Whatever it is you want to do, just do. But I've told you where my source or where my energy is drawn from. And it hits me differently because my husband is also a medical doctor. And then he's deep into practice and he holds his faith very dearly. And then one of the things he had noticed with a whole lot of people, especially for us here, is that when they come to the hospitals and they are told anything, they'll say, "No, I don't want to do it. I'm going to be healed." Okay, why did you come? They will just walk off. And then,
That's
no,
me.
sincerely, surprisingly, a whole lot of them just take faith out of proportion. And then we're talking about few years, you see them down with a chronic illness, and then some of them eventually just pass.
Yeah.
And could they have been healed? Yes, God is merciful. I think when she was talking, it just dawned on me that we, his creatures, are the primary miracles. So I don't think there's nothing he can't do for us. Like the whole concept man is a miraculous thing. I don't even know why you would create such beings and stay somewhere and just
Right.
let them live lives. I don't know. I can't just figure it out. But then I think that it's just an amazing, I don't know, I'm grateful, like something, I'm literally feeling chills through my body. Thank you so much. And then I want to really appreciate Mr. Michael for bringing me here. It was last minute, but I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so much as well, Mr. Williams, for an amazing show. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, thank
Thank you
you.
so much. I super appreciate that. Um, so while you were talking, my watch said time to stand. Again, you had just said, sitting too long uh makes your blood flow bad. Um, and I'm gonna listen to everything that you guys are saying today, and I'm going to apply it, because I don't. I'm sitting on the couch or I'm doing the podcast, and the exercise I get is walking my dogs. And I love that, getting out there and walking them for like 30 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes at night, and once in the middle of the day. But outside of that, we're sitting at desks typing all day. And there's several differences between Christine and I, by the way. But one big difference is she said that when she was going through her treatment for diabetes, not only did she take Manjaro, but she started eating healthy. I I I, I fry my lettuce. Like, I fry everything. I fry my chicken. I make French fries. Today for breakfast, I had fried cod with with fried potatoes. Because I taken some cod out yesterday and defrosted it. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to eat it now because you can't keep fish too long. So that was my breakfast: French fries and fried fish. And what I said was, it's fish and chips, just like you do in London, right? Um, I fry my Brussels sprouts. I mean, I am terrible. If it's fried, it's for me. I fry ice cream. Like,
Sorry.
stop laughing. That's why I'm not. That's why she's off of insulin and I'm still on it.
Just say baked is better than fried.
It's better for your health.
It's
It's be-
better than fried.
okay. So I baked the chicken. I baked the chicken, and what I did before I baked it was I made a compound butter, and I wrapped the entire chicken in butter. And then I put it in the refrigerator overnight, and it looked like it was a mask. It had to be like 3 or 4 sticks of butter. So even when I'm baking, it's not healthy. So so I need prayer on eating healthy. So and they say you need to be intentional with what you ask for. And I think that Dr. Vivian said demand it. Um, I think that was you that used that word. But I I have the faith of a mustard seed. and it's unshakable. And I go out there, and the life that I'm living, if you looked at me on paper, you know how my trajectory, it wasn't easy. So I didn't go to Harvard, and I didn't get scholarships or any of that stuff, but I made my way. I left home at 16 and lived in my car, um, and still I rise. And still I rise, and
Amen.
um, it is because I believe that there's something better out there for me every time, and I haven't had a straight line, right? So it's been, a hockey puck and then a drop, and then you pick yourself back up and you say, all right, and you go back to the hockey puck again, and then, COVID, there was a drop. But you know what? The second time the drop occurred, I'd already been through it. So I knew that still I rise. And each time I rise better
Amen.
than before. I don't fall
Amen.
down, I fall forward, you
Mhm.
know? And as I'm falling, as I'm rising again, I believe that that's my opportunity to see who's with me at ground level, and help them rise along with me. And so that's my calling. That's where, I am using my power, which we are all powerful beings, to learn from what happened, and then to take somebody else and say, all right, we can
Yes.
do this. So let's go. So that's my little. It's not as great as Christine's, but uh, I yeah, Christine, you have all of us speechless.
Can I just add? I just want to say that a delay is not a denial.
Yep,
Let me say that again. A delay is not a denial. Because, see, we have to go through certain tests with God. So it may not be your time. It does
exactly.
not mean it's not going to happen. It's just not your time. It's not your season.
And there's divine
And
timing.
yes, and then you have to be able to listen to God when you're going through tests. Like me, it was like I kept going around and around and around and around, and then bam, I finally got it. And so then I went to the next level. So that's what God wants all of us to do, because we all start off on the same playing field, but it's up to us to move up. The power
Absolutely.
is in our hands. We have to stop giving the power to the enemy. The power is in our hands. God has given us the power. When he was nailed on that cross for our sins and death, that was it. So the power is in our hands. So don't accept that delay, because it's not a denial, and it's not over until you win.
Absolutely. And if I can add to that, um, a no isn't a no if it's from a person. A no could just mean you need to be directed in this direction.
Mhm.
And so, sometimes people uh, don't let that no get you down, because
Exactly.
that no could be leading you. Could
Exactly.
That's your protection. It could be protecting you
Exactly.
from something that will hold you down, that will keep you tethered to that desk, where God's glory says you don't need to be there. You need to be here, and you need to
That's
not.
God watching over you. That's
You
all
need
that is. If
you
you get
need
a
not to
no, that's
worry. You don't need to worry. You need to go. And
amen.
I got you. I'm preparing something for you. I
Exactly.
am making a way for you. But right now, Bill, Christine, Dr. Vivian, you're not believing in me enough. You need to believe
Amen.
and keep marching forward.
Yes.
And that is
Yes.
going to be my thought of the day. You got to
Amen.
believe and keep marching forward.
Amen.
So let's go through our. It's been an hour. It's been a magnificent conversation. You
Amen.
know, what final thoughts do we have? And let's start with Dr. Vivian on her final thoughts because she actually um, has been witnessing
Mhm.
the conversation, and
Amen.
so and I'm kind of in it. So, kind of give us your final thoughts of today's everything.
Okay. Basically, these are my final thoughts. I think that being able to change your lifestyle as regards to maybe what you eat, what you drink, is usually much more easier if you're within an environment. Let's say people also striving. I love what you said. You said every time you go down, you're going to rise. But then it also gives you an opportunity to find people who are literally in your space so that you can all rise together. I think that being able to decide what you want to eat can be influenced by some form of accountability. You might just need to get somebody who can walk you through that journey. And I just believe the earlier the better, right? The earlier the better because um, the difference between now and probably tomorrow or next, and then hopefully your health and you getting everything right back, is because of the power that we are all talking about here. It means that God made man so powerful that even our actions can determine our future. So if you think at this point, T, you cannot probably make that change that you need, you might just need to hold the hands of a few persons who are thriving in that. If it means you calling her dietitian, if the person is free to take you on, or get yours who would work with you one on one, and then a community of other people who are eating healthy. Because personally, I feel like just like emotions, your taste buds can be trained to eat anything, literally can be trained for anything. So it's not if, and I noticed it's literally for me while growing up, my parents liked to eat a lot of fatty foods. Literally, yeah. So you just find out that okay, you didn't just actually like fatty foods because you that was the best thing you could have around to eat. It was just that someone introduced you super early to it. But now that you know that okay, there's something that might go wrong, can we all just untrain ourselves again? The same way it was introduced to you, you can literally just do a reverse back. So I think that's what I would probably add because, as far as I'm concerned, today was majorly around our health and then our faith. And I'm so honored to be here. And I think, just like Michael Rivers said, there's something supernatural about it that I needed to be here. At least I had something to say specific on that. So I think you can consider that. Thank you so much. The mic is yours.
You're so welcome, and I thank you for sharing. And yeah, I intentionally eat wrong. You know, I mean, it's a choice, and I need to make a different choice. And I think some of that has to do with comfort. Um, you know, comfort food for me is oxtails and gravy over white rice. That's delicious. Or fried chicken, or you know, today was fried fish with fried French fries. I mean, it's what I had, and I could have baked it. I made a choice, and so I am going to do several things. First is to get those things done that my doctor's been asking me to do for a couple of months now, and I'm going to broil my salmon for dinner. You know, and do that with some Brussels sprouts that are roasted instead of sauteed or fried. But they're so good. But I need to stop. I really do because it's not helping me, and I want to be here longer than just another 2 years. Christine, you had so much to say today. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are for anyone and everyone. God has a purpose and a plan for each individual's life. And just know that you are loved, you are needed, you are wanted, you are somebody. And last but not least, activate your faith.
Amazing. And I need to thank Michael Rivers. I was not walking in faith for this podcast. I was nervous. Michael said he couldn't make it. And I think the right people showed up. The right people showed up. And I think that people out there needed to hear this message today, because this wasn't just a podcast. This was a testimony. This was a healing. This will change someone's life. I know it changed mine.
Amen.
In this moment. And I thank all of you guys for coming on. I thank all of my listeners. I would love to have both of you guys back, either together or separately, whenever you guys feel like it. That's really all I got. But I'm leaving with a lot to think about. A lot. So thank you guys.
Welcome. God
All
bless.
right. You guys have a great Sunday.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Vivian.
Nice to meet you, Dr. Vivian.
I hope to see you soon as well.
Yes.
You guys got to come back.
Yes, most definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.